Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today is our 23rd lesson on the book, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's prayer described by Shaykh Albani Rahimahullah. 13th of Rabiul Awwal 1438. Page 42, the ruku, bowing. After completing his recitation, he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would pause for a moment, then raise his hands in the way described earlier under the opening takbir, say takbir and make ruku. And on the raising hand there is a note. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim, and this raising of hands is reported as mutawatir from him Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as is the raising of hands on straightening up after ruku. It is the madhab of the three Imams, Malik, Shafi'i and Ahmad rahimahullah, and the majority of the scholars of hadith and fiqh. Imam Malik rahimahullah practiced it right up to his death, as reported by Ibn Asakir. Some of the Hanafis chose to do it. Among them, Isam ibn Yusuf Abu Asama al-Balkhi died 210 after Hijrah, a student of Imam Abu Yusuf rahimahullah, as has been explained in the introduction. Abdullah ibn Ahmad reported from his father in his Masail, page 60, it is related from Uqba bin Amir radiallahu anhu that he said about a man raising his hands during prayer, and he earns 10 good deeds for each such movement. And this is supported by the hadith Qudsi, he who intends a good deed and then does it. He who intends a good deed and then does it, Allah writes it down with himself as from 10 to 700 good deeds. Transmitted by Bukhari and Muslim, and see Sahih Habib number 16.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Now, after we have finished the posture, which is to do with recitation of the Fatiha and what to do in it, we go now to the ruku'. So we are almost now wrapping up the prayer altogether. Because we finish now the beginning of it, which is the standing up posture. We're going to go now to the ruku'. And here, the Shaykh rahimahullah, he says, when the Prophet ﷺ used to finish his recitation, he would make a sakta. Sakta means he would be silent. Now, how long should be silent? And that is in note number 5. I think you have there. The sakta is being number 5, according to my book. I don't know. That is the sakta which is being estimated by Ibn al-Qayyim. Doesn't it say? It doesn't say. The sakta is being estimated by Ibn al-Qayyim to be as equivalent to person taking his breath. Are you sure? Okay. If you haven't got that,
it's number 3. Yeah. Abu Dawud and Hakim who declared it Sahih.
And then that's it. That's it. And there's no about the sakta. Right. Okay, we could add that to your book because it's in the book. The sakta is estimated, according to Ibn al-Qayyim, is, and also other scholars, as long as he takes his breath. Now let me explore into this issue. For verily, we know that there is a hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that the Prophet ﷺ, he asked about a sakta which is a long one, and that is the hadith we discussed before regarding the opening supplication. And that is, he said, Bi-abi anta wa ummi ya Rasulullah, I sacrifice my father and my mother for you, Messenger of Allah. What do you say at the beginning after you say Takbirat al-Ihram? So he told him, Dua al-Istiftah. So this is the long sakta. This hadith also was narrated, that is, he had 2 sakta, which is the first one, that is the long one, and the second one, which hasn't been noticed by a number of companions who have narrated the hadith of the Prophet of Allah regarding his prayer, because it was short. And this sakta, you could take it from a number of hadith, but all of them are unauthentic. But it comes to a power where the Shaykh al-Albani says that there is a sector, but this sector is not that much noticeable. It is not like something that everybody would notice it. It's a sector which to separate between his recitation and his ruku'. So let's say, for example, now I am reciting Surah Al-Nas and I'm reaching the end of the surah and I'm going to do ruku'. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. من الجنة والناس. Allahu Akbar. So I'm just taking my breath. So this is not right to do the following. من الجنة والناس. Allahu Akbar. So that's a link. So the separation is a natural one, and for the person to make sure that he is going from one posture to another, from the standing up to the ruku', that is the sector. Then another hadith which is in Muslim Imam Ahmad, on the authority of Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ, he had 3 sectors. That means 3 places where he was quiet. And this is the hadith which is unauthentic. And this is the hadith which some of the scholars had depended, or lots of scholars depended upon, to say that there is a gap between the Fatiha and between the surah. So let me, as a student of knowledge, you have to document this. It's very important. So when somebody says to you, why don't we read the Fatiha in the loud recitation? Because there is no place to read it anyway. Oh, but what about if the Imam leaves a gap between the Fatiha and the surah? We say to him, that's not from the Sunnah. Why? Because the hadith that we depending upon this is unauthentic. So why don't we read it before the ruku'? Because the sector, the quietness is not long enough, it's short. So do you understand now how we trace this matter? So there is no sector between so there is no sector as there is no stoppage which is kept noticeable. So a sector, it has to be just like between a verse and a verse. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman. That's a sector. So when I say وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ آمين قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ. So this is a sector to indicate that there is a separation between a verse and a verse, and between a surah, the end of a surah and a verse. So this sector before the ruku' is unnoticeable. And that is why you find the ones who narrated the ahadith of the Prophet of Allah, they did not talk about it, except for, as I said, some narration which are unauthentic. And that is why Ibn al-Qayyim and other scholars, they said, it's a very small sector that Abu Hurairah did not ask about. He asked about the first long one, which the Prophet of Allah, he says, Allahumma ba'id bayni wa bayna khatayai, wajjahtu wajhi alladhi fatara as-samawati wal ard, subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. All of these supplications that the Prophet of Allah, he used to alternate between them, which we call them the opening supplication. Then he says, ثم رفع يديه على الوجوه المتقدمة. And then he raised up his hands according to the ways which has been explained before. And that is with and before and after. So always when it says that he used to raise up his hands according to what has been mentioned before, it means that is with or before or after. That means either he raised up his hands with his takbir, Allahu Akbar, or he had raised it up before his takbir, so he did like this, then Allahu Akbar, or he did the sound, the takbir before the raising, so he said Allahu Akbar, then raised up his hands. All of that is correct from the Prophet ﷺ, and you alternate between them as well. Then he says, وَكَبَّرْ. So takbir here, he said, kabbar wa raka'. The Imam al-Albani rahimahullah, he discusses the issue of the Ahnaf, because the Hanafis, they don't raise up their hands, except in Takbirat al-Ihram. Whereas here, we find that there is the hadith, which talks about, for every raising, there is a 10 hasana, is mutawatir. لِكُلِّ إِشَارَةٍ عَشْرُ حَسَنَاتٍ. So it is this raising up of the hand is mutawatir. Now let's ask ourselves, why Abu Hanifa rahimahullah did not do it? Well, I'm not wondering if Abu Hanifa did not do it, but I will not be stopping to wonder, be astonished why the ones who are following Abu Hanifa still insisting and persisting to follow Abu Hanifa, regardless of the ahadith which is in front of their eyes. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah his excuse, he did not have the narrations, whether from the Prophet of Allah or from the numbers of companions. There are tens of companions, which he did not receive any of their narrations, and if he did, their narration was not received in a way that he would say that they are authentic. So for him, the way that the narration he had received is not authentic, and there are not really that many. So if Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he did not have anything to establish the fact that he used to raise up the hands of the Prophet of Allah or the companions, along with his going to the ruku', then he has excuse. And the Prophet of Allah, he said that the person who makes ijtihad, if he's correct, then he will have a double reward. If he's not correct, he'll have one reward. So he has the right to leave that because he hasn't got anything established. But what about the ones who are the blind followers of Abu Hanifa? It is not permissible for those who came later on, the ones who had seen the ahadith and they knew the authenticity of it, and there is nothing from the ahadith which are authentic to stand up to oppose those ahadith. So if they have left it because they were fanatics or they were blind followers of Abu Hanifa and they just want to follow him in anything, then even they are opposing the Prophet ﷺ sunnah, or also they are opposing their Imam. For verily, rahimahullah and wa radiyallahu anhu, he used to say, as we have discussed at the beginning of this book, if the hadith is authentic, then this is my madhab. So, and also he said, it is not fit for anyone to take my saying, as long as if he doesn't know where I took it from. So you're not allowed to take Abu Hanifa's opinion if you didn't know how did he derive that opinion. So if he was, rahimahullah, does not allow to anyone to make a fatwa, taking his verdict and saying in any matter in the religion, except if he knew the proof for that, then how can for a person, that is, to make it permissible for one of his followers to say something and he already knows the unauthenticity of the proof that he brought regarding not to raise up the hands in the ruku' or after raising up from the ruku' and all of that. You don't raise up their hands except in takbirat al-ihram. We, as alhamdulillah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made us successful to follow the Prophet ﷺ and follow his sunnah, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is, to recompense and to reward Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, the great Imam, the best of reward, and also the other Imams along with him, because of the ones they have directed us, or they put us on the right track, which would lead us to the Sunnah. With those sayings which we have narrated from them, we call them the golden sayings. So it is being confirmed to us, and what has been narrated now, alhamdulillah, that he who does abandon the sunnah which is confirmed because of a saying of an imam, then he is opposing that imam. And that imam, if he's alive, he will not be pleased with that person who's following him. And that is why we find so many of those great scholars who were attributed to Abu Hanifa, from the ones in the past and even from the ones who came later on, that they have actually taken the choice or taken their opinion, that is, to raise up their hands even though it would oppose their imam. One of them, as has been narrated now, Isam ibn Yusuf, is kunya Abu Isma al-Balkhi, and he is the student of Abu Yusuf, the great student of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. He died in the year 215. And they have actually mentioned him in the Abu Hanifa biography. And that he used to as well say that he used to raise up his hand in the ruku' and also raise up his head from the ruku'. He used to raise up his hand. Al-Allama Abu al-Hasanat al-Laknawi rahimahullah, in his book Al-Fawaid al-Bahiyya, he says that is, from this narration it will be known the invalidation of the narration of Makhul, which he narrates from Abu Hanifa, that he says, he who raises up his hand in the salah, then his salah is unacceptable. This is an invalid narration and is unauthentic narration from Abu Hanifa, which has been flying around and floating around, and also the Amir al-Katib al-Itbari had been deceived with such narration and he thought it was authentic, and it is not. Formerly, Isam ibn Yusuf, he was from the ones who was so close to Abu Yusuf, the one who is the premier student of Imam Abu Hanifa, he used to raise up his hand. So if it was the correct narration, that is the narration of that Abu Hanifa says he raised up his hand, his prayer is invalid, he would have known that narration. And also his teacher Abu Yusuf, the premier student of Abu Hanifa, would have known that student. Then also he had said, Abu Hasanat al-Laknawi, also should be known to us that the Hanafi, if he had left in a particular matter, the madhab of his Imam, because he had seen that the proof is against his Imam, then he will not go outside the following of his Imam. But actually this is the proper following. This is Ayn al-Taqleed, and I like that what he said. So you are muqallid proper if you have chosen the other opinion, which is not the opinion of your Imam, because the Imam said, if the hadith is authentic, this is my madhab. So you are actually the proper muqallid to your Imam. And we have mentioned that, if you remember, in the introduction of this book, which was a very important introduction, and I would urge everybody to keep reading that introduction and learn it, and even memorize it in his heart, in order to, when he negotiate with those people of the madhab, he will be very equipped with weapons and ammunition to tell them that this is not the way of your Imam. As for the ones who came later on, well, alhamdulillah, there are a lot. Especially the ones who are from India, and the Indians are Hanifiyin. Abu Hanifa, most of the ones who comes from India, Pakistan, they are Hanafis. But yet, mashallah, they are, you could say, one of the most knowledgeable people amongst the Ahlul Sunnah, the ones who are implementing the Sunnah. So they are knowledgeable with knowledge, and also they are one of the best in terms of implementation. And they are the least in terms of blind following to the madhab, except what is the haqq. So they will follow the madhab if it's haqq. One of them is Abu al-Hasan al-Sindi, rahimahullah. And also Waliyullah al-Dahlawi. He had said in Hujjatullah al-Baligha lots of sayings which will synchronize with what we have been saying. Also Abu Hasanat al-Laknawi, which we have just mentioned some of his words in Al-Ta'liq al-Mumajjid ala Muwatta Muhammad, and also Sheikh Muhammad Anwar al-Kashmiri in his book Fayd al-Bari. And if you want to keep narrating those books, it will be a lot. And not a single century is empty from those people who are attributed or ascribed to be Abu Hanifa's followers, that they are implementing the Sunnah, even though that it will oppose the madhab of their Imam. But some of them, they would not show that implementation because of what is going to be the consequences of those people around them. So, Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, he says, Shaykh Salih al-Himsi in Syria, he was one of the scholars of the Abu Hanifa, and when he was contemporary to the Shaykh al-Albani, he used to see that raising up the hands for the ruku' and going up from the ruku' is the sunnah. But he would not do such a thing because he was afraid that those who are fanatics, they'll come and beat him up. And this is what he had told the Shaykh al-Albani. Told him that these people, they will not let him alone. And you know for a fact that in these masajid, the one who is the Imam, if he does not do those things which are called rituals in every prayer, like for example raising up the hands after the prayer, if he does not do that, believe me, he will not be left alone. Not to say that you're not going to find him the following day, he will be chucked out of the business. He has to do those rituals in order to be a Hanafi. So as soon as you see them finishing the prayer, if the Imam does not raise up his hand, even the people will raise up their hands. They have to do that. This is something there, is embedded in them. Right, if we're going to talk about this issue, it's going to be a lot. So we would say that the person raised up his hand. And even Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he was asked about a man who was leading the prayer in a masjid which is a Hanafi masjid. He raised up his hand, and the people there, they told him off. The faqih and the scholar of the Jama'ah, he said you should not do that because it's not in your madhab. And before I continue, that reminded me something that myself, I heard it with my own ears, and I would like to document it in the camera as well, and to be as well something that you learn from. I myself was listening to a mufti, and this mufti in our country, that they give the iftar, alhamdulillah, that person has got a bit of knowledge, I could say. Get a bit of knowledge. I mean, more with the case, the ones who are mufti, they don't have the knowledge, normally. Or the knowledge which is specific to what they are doing. And I kept saying in a number of my lectures that those people, if you read in their biography, and if you read how did they become a mufti, don't look at their degree, which is their PhD, or for example the MSc, or for example their graduation, but look at their GCSEs. You'll find that those people, they got 4 Ds, or 5 Ds, or 5 Es, okay, in order to get to this stage. They were not good enough in the school. Can I ask you for that? It's really hot now. It's really hot and I'm dizzy. So the person, one of them, you could find him that he is in his school, he's a failure. Because if he was good and he was having high grades, he would never choose religion. He would not go to the religion faculty. He would go to the engineer, he would go to doctor, whatever, that would pay him a lot. Because a sheikh doesn't pay you a lot, does it? Sheikh means you are what? Can I just ask the brothers, come forward, brothers. Come forward, don't ask leave the gaps. Don't leave gaps, brothers. One's at the back. So we find that those people, they have chosen this religion because they had no choice. If he had 90 degrees, no way he would choose religion. And I'm telling you, that's maybe 1 in a million. If he's 90%, he's going to go to what? He's going to go to maths and teach English, because this is the most 2 important subjects in our country, maths and English. Just like here. Get your maths and English correct? MashaAllah, you're right. Yes? Get your maths and English. That's what they say to you. Get your maths and English. Same thing in our country. Get your maths and English, you're proper. So the sheikh there, basically, he is not a person who is qualified to give the right fatwa. So this imam, this mufti in front of me, he was asked by a person regarding the issue of touching the woman. He touched his wife and he came. So he says, is my prayer valid or invalid? I'm asking you now, if person kissed his wife, came to the prayer, is prayer valid or invalid? Are you sure? Okay, you give fatwa then. So this person, he says, I have heard that touching my wife invalidate my prayer. What should I do? He said, you are Shafi'i, you should change in this matter your madhab to Hanafi. So I would advise you to change to Hanafi. In front of me, I'm listening. I'm listening. I said, Allahumma musta'an. So he changed to Hanafi, and that's it in this matter. Maybe Shafi'i is not. Shafi'i, go to Hanafi now. SubhanAllah. Why don't you go to the Prophet ﷺ? Why you go to Abu Hanifa? Are we restricted by 4 madhabs? That's it? You could choose one of the 4. 4 religions we've got, brothers. Choose from the 4. Can't choose outside the 4. And then he was asked a question, and I was with a friend of mine, listening to him, and it was, I think, to do with the Eid, something. And even was the question, he's got fiqh al-sunnah in front of him. Every time he asks a question, he go to the book, and he asks, oh yes, this is halal. Oh yeah, this is haram. So, he was asked a question. And this question, there is a bid'ah in it. I can't remember the question. He looks at us and he was smiling. He doesn't know what to say, basically. So he said, oh, well, this issue, bikulu bud'ah. I'm narrating it by letter to letter. The other will be laughing. Bikulu bud'ah. They say it is not bid'ah, bud'ah. Even the word bud'ah is bid'ah. That's a mufti I'm talking about. It's in front, grand mufti. But he hasn't got this saucepan on top of his head. You know, the grand mufti that has saucepans? He hasn't got one of these ones. He's got small in here, scarf. It's mashallah, down to earth. It's very good. Ibn Shaykh Mashur said, you know, look after it, because it looks like a humble one. It's not like one of these got. You know, have you seen? So he said it's bud'ah. Meaning it's a bid'ah. The Shaykh, rahimahullah, the mufti, one day he was in front of some people, and the people were asking Sheikh Mashur. After the class of Sheikh Mashur, people around the Sheikh Mashur, and he was there. one of the people asked a question to the Sheikh, and the Mufti there is in front of him. So the Sheikh Mashhur is younger than him, much younger than him. He's an old man. He would be really not, it would be rude if he answers a question in front of the Mufti. He's the Mufti. But the Mufti, he saw when he listened to the lecture that his knowledge is zero, and I mean zero. Zero. He was so shy to talk in front of the Sheikh. So he said, I think you should answer the Mufti. So the Mufti was so red. He said, verily, I think it's better, like this, I think it's better to ask Sheikh Mashhur. He was so embarrassed. And then I told the Sheikh Mashhur, you shouldn't have really put him in that embarrassment. He was so embarrassed. Those are the Mufti. They will not put Sheikh Mashhur Mufti because you know what? He did not get the 5 Ds. You have to go through the process to get 5 Ds, 5 Es, and then, then after that PhDs, and then he'll be Mufti. He did not graduate from the university, Sheikh Mashhur. He left within the first year, second year he left the university. Why he left the university? Because it was too much for the university. Like Einstein. The university is basically, when he wrote the first book, he wrote it when he was in the first year. Then in the second year, the Sheikh, he said, they were asking me to make a research into a hadith which I believe is unauthentic. So how can I spend my lifetime interpreting a hadith which is what? Unauthentic. So he left. When he made the first book, it's called Al-Muhammad. It's called the lawyership. The one who made the introduction of it is the Professor Muhammad Uqla. He's the one of the head of faculty of that. And he says, this is a student who's in the first year of his university. I'm asking me to make an introduction. By Allah, that book, that even scholars cannot write it. He says that in the introduction of his. That's in the first year. So that's why his Sheikh left. So I'm just saying, Allah al-Musta'an. If those people who are in charge of these masajid are fanatics, you have to be easy with them and tell them about the Sunnah. Going back to the question, if that Imam was not following the madhab, and the persons who are behind him, they told him off, what he should do, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah answers the following. He says, verily, if any person was a follower of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad, but he had seen that in other madhab or in other hadith and proof, something which is stronger than what he follows, then it would be better for him to follow which is correct. And this will not scratch his religion or his trustworthiness or his caliber. But the haqq is more priority to be followed, and it's more loved to Allah and His Messenger than what the person is sticking to without a proof. So these are the Imams. The Imam, he should be always Imam in the haqq. If you find yourself wrong, you just back off. You don't say, oh, how can I be Abu Hanifa wrong? Abu Hanifa stays wrong. Oh, because I want to preserve the madhab. Then I have to be sticking with the madhab. I have to die in the madhab. Allah. So if the person is Hanafi, cannot change. He has to be Hanafi. And that was the split point between our Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah and his father. One of the, I wouldn't say the scholars of Hanafiya. No, he was not. He was just one of those people who is to be referred to whenever the people want to take fatwa. Okay, he was not a scholar in Hanafiya, but he was a reference point, basically. They go to whenever they want to ask a question. That was a splitting point because Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, he used to go to the halaqat of other than Abu Hanifa's halaqat. In the masjid, there used to be halaqat. And in the prayer, also, the mayor of that city in the Dimashq, he had commanded for each madhab to have his own prayer. And because he was a Shafi, the one who was the mayor, he made the first prayer as what? Shafi'i prayer. Second prayer is what? Is the Hanafi prayer. Now the Shaykh al-Albani, he adopts the opinion that you should be with the what? The first Jama'ah, which is not the Jama'ah of his father. Jama'ah of the Hanafis. So he goes in the first Jama'ah with the Shafi'is. And he does say as well, he can't repeat the Jama'ah again. He should not repeat the Jama'ah. There's no Jama'ah, second Jama'ah after the Jama'ah in the Masjid. So his Shaykh, the Hanafi, he was much older than him. whenever he does not come to the prayer, he makes his father to lead the prayer. The father of Sheikh Al-Albani. But one day, both of them, they were not there. The Sheikh apologized. He put his father, he said, I'm not going to be, there's something wrong. I think something wrong with him. So he asked his son. Do you understand? But his son is already at praying the prayer. So he, no compromise, the Sheikh. This is my deen. This is one of the points that made a split between the Sheikh and his father. I can't compromise. You are my father, I'll obey you and everything, as long there is no disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he did not lead the Hanafi prayer. As I said, there was Jama'at teacher would teach Hanafi madhab, another Shafi'i madhab. So sometimes, when he was a young person, he used to sneak, the Shaykh rahmatullahi, and goes to the other circle, which is the Shafi'i. And he finds there something which is more correct in some issues than the Hanafi. So, and he's been told off. Hanafi say Hanafi, Shafi'i says Shafi'i. That Shafi'i and Hanafi and all of that split between a father and a son. Between a brother and a brother. Subhanallah. 4 deeds we've got. 4 religions. Maliki, Hanafi. Hanafi will start with Maliki, Shafi'i and then Hanbali. 4 prayers in the Haram used to be. 4 prayers. Imagine. That's 4 deeds, basically. How can these madhahab can be madhahab that would lead to the unity? No. That would disunite the Muslims. Coming back to the ruku', he says, and he had made a ruku'. And then he commanded.
He sallallahu alaihi wasallam also ordered the one who prayed badly likewise, saying to him, indeed, the prayer of one of you is not complete until he makes an excellent ablution as Allah has commanded him to. Then he celebrates Allah's greatness, praises and glorifies Him, then recites the Quran as much as is easy for him from what Allah has taught him and allowed him, then says takbir and makes ruku', and places his hands on his knees until his joints are at ease and relaxed.
Right. So this is basically to tell you that the ruku' is a must, wajib, but not as a wajib, wajib plus. What is the plus? Ruku'. Do you understand that? Wajib plus. What is wajib? Obligatory. But this is obligatory plus. It's a rukun. What does mean a rukun? Means it's extra wajib. If you leave that rukun, your prayer is what? Invalid. But not every obligatory act that you leave, your prayer will be invalid. Some of those acts which are obligatory, like raising up the hands, is obligatory. But if you left that, it's not going to be what? Jeopardizing your prayer. So saying Allahu Akbar, raising up the hands for Allahu Akbar is obligatory. Because it says, Amara biha al-musi salat. That is, he had commanded the person who was making the wrong prayer. You remember that hadith? Always, a person came to pray and he prayed 3 times. Wrong, fast ruku', fast sujood. Prophet of Allah, every time he comes to him, he says, wa alayka salam, go back and repeat your prayer. Until he taught him the prayer, and he taught him that prayer, and everything that he said to him is to do this, is to be under the obligatory. Right, let's go to the description of the ruku'. We're going to have now a description which is from the book, and also we'll describe it, we'll make a demonstration for that. Now,
the ruku' described, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam would place his palms on his knees and would order them to do likewise, as he ordered the one who prayed badly in the aforementioned hadith. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam would put his hands firmly on his knees as though he were grasping them, and would space his fingers out, ordering the one who prayed badly likewise, saying, when you make ruku', place your palms on your knees, then space your fingers out, then remain like that until every limb takes its proper place. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to spread himself, that is, not to be in compact position, and keep his elbows away from his sides. And when he sallallahu alaihi wasallam made ruku', he would spread his back and make it level, such that if water were poured on it, the water would stay there and not run off. He also said to the one who prayed badly, when you make ruku', put your palms on your knees, spread your back flat and hold firm in your ruku'. he sallallahu alaihi wasallam would neither let his head droop nor raise it, that is higher than his back, but it would be in between.
Jazakallah. Right. First of all, the Prophet ﷺ, before he made this ruku', there was another ruku'. And that was for a certain time, and then the Prophet of Allah left it. And that is the ruku' which is not anymore. He used to put his hands in between his legs, like that. So if you have, can I ask Alfred? God. Make ruku'. Now put your hands, these ones, in between your legs, like the other way. That's it. Go, yes. That was the ruku', like this of the Prophet ﷺ, until he left it. The ruku' now, put it where, spread your fingers just like a claw. Okay. And grab your knee, grabbing your knee. Now your elbows supposed to be away from your sides. Now they are from away. Now this way is away from your sides, isn't it? But a bit more, according to the level of your what? Your back. So that is will be bent in such a way that it will not make your back to go down. Now I can see your back now is not level. Go a bit up. That's level. That's level. Because if you want now, I'm going to ask you to put this water, please. Top of his back. Up. Top of the back. On the back in the middle. Yeah. No. The camera captured that. Sit down, brother. He was going to give you a wash. That is the cup holding, and that's a straight back. It's not going back. It's not going forward. Don't drop it, brother. Huh? So this is the ruku'. Now we want to do it. Now, can you hold Arif? Hold this cup. Take it out. Let's see the ruku' of the people they're doing in these days. Now, before you go ahead, now this hand, some people I have seen them, because of their back. Sorry about that. Break between your hands. Yes. That is in the prayer of the Jama'ah would annoy people. You understand that? Plus, when he did this, look at his back now. If I put the water there, definitely it's going to drop down. Go back to the position and raise up your head as much as you can. Or your back as well. Have you seen some of the ruku' like that or not? Lots of ruku'. This is wrong ruku'. This is a ruku' where the water is going to drop on the other side. Go to the ruku' where your head goes down. So that is as well wrong ruku'. Also from the wrong ruku', make the straight one. And put your head up. That's wrong ruku'. Put your head really down. Just leave the back. Leave the back and just spread your neck. That's as well wrong. For the sisters who are not watching, I don't think that we've got a screen there. Sorry? What the sisters are? But the sisters they can't see. Okay, right. Can you, Alfred, face that way so the camera can see? Right. So this is now, we're going to do the proper ruku'. No, sideways, correct. Jazakallah khair, Alfred. Right, go down for the proper ruku'. So, now look at me, Alfred. Hold your knees like that. See? You are really, mashallah, you are affirming. You're staying firm. Okay? Right. Now, your head level. Don't look at me now, of course. You do your ruku'. That's a level. Just a bit up. No, not your head. Your back. You don't have to bend it because your arms, it looks like short. Some of the arms are longer than the others. You understand? If it's long, then you bend a bit. But this one is, mashallah, good ruku'. Let's go now with the wrong ruku'. Some of the ruku' which is wrong, I'm going to ask you to do your hands, leave them like not spread between the fingers, but actually close. Close the gaps between the fingers. That's, so many people does that. That's not right. Okay. So that is, lots of people, they do that. The other one is that I have seen them, that they hold underneath their knees, go down. They do like this. Some of them, they even above the knees, put your thighs. Yes, they do like this. They do like that. Yes, they do like this as well. Now let's go for the ruku' where your go back with your grabbing, okay? No, not like this, like that. Spread, spread. Yes. Your knees, yeah? And now go your back up. Up, up, up. Yeah. Some people, they do like this. Let me just demonstrate the wrong, because I do wrong better than you. Okay. I think your hand is not helping. Come here. Hold this. Right. I'm going to tell you that is the correct one he had done. So that's the correct one. Mine, because I got a bend in my arm, so I'm bending, look at my bend, and my back is to be straight. Is it straight? Okay. This is wrong. And this is wrong. And what I said, this is wrong as well. I said, this is wrong, and this is wrong. Okay? So, this is wrong. Can you see? Lots of people do like this. I'm not doing ruku here. And other people, they do like that. That's not right. Some people, they do like this. They bend their knees. You see it? Yeah. They do like this. That's not right. That's not ruku. That's almost squatting. Okay? The ruku is like this. It has to be straight. It has to be like this. And then don't do like this, don't do like this. And then you make the itmi'nan at least to say Subhan Rabbi al-Azim. So once, that's the itmi'nan. If he said like this, or in the Fatiha, Allahu Akbar, that's not itmi'nan. You have lost it. So if you did like this, straight away from the ruku like that, then you have lost it. Why? Because you did not say Subhan Rabbi al-Azim. Some people say Subhan Rabbi al-Azim in the following manner. So, by the way, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim is mentioned when I'm going up. Okay? So he's insulting. He says, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim. Slowly. So once, this is the itmi'nan. Jazakallah khair Alfred. Sorry for the water, Alfred. It's better than my Ahmed's water. He was fixed up with coffee. Putting me back. Right, he says, وجوب الطمأنينة في الركوع. Follow. That is to make sure that you are طمأنينة. Tuma'nina means tranquility. Go.
The obligation of being at ease in ruku. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to be at ease in his ruku and ordered the one who prayed badly to be so, as has been mentioned in the first section of the ruku. He sallallahu used to say, complete the ruku and sujood, for by him in whose hand is my soul, I surely see you behind my back when you make ruku and sujood. And there's a note on seeing behind.
Go on.
This vision was physically real and was one of his miracles. It was confined to during the prayer, and there is no evidence for it being of a general nature.
Right. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to pray at ease, means with tranquility, with calmness. He does not peck like the crow. And the Prophet of Allah told us a number of times not to imitate any animal, even the good animals like the camel. Not to imitate the crow, not to imitate the rooster, the deek, we call it, the cock. So you can't imitate that as well. And also, you cannot imitate the monkeys and the dogs, and the chicken and all of that. It is not allowed. And it's been mentioned in the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, as we're going to see one of them here. He says here that he commanded the person who is the musi' salat, that is the one we always mention his hadith. And he used to say, Atimmu ruku'. Atimmu ruku' means bring the ruku' with complete conditions. It means itman. Atimmu ruku' means bring the ruku' complete with its conditions and prerequisites. So you bring the prerequisite, the conditions, the etiquettes of the ruku', the sunan of the ruku', all of that. also the sujood, the prostration, by the one in whose hand is my soul. Again, the oath of the Prophet of Allah, as I said, you'll find that the hadiths of the Prophet of Allah to do with his oaths is فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. Now, did the Prophet of Allah needed to say this sort of oath? Did he? In order to believe him? No. But now the scholars had differed. Is it allowed just to every time that you say something you make an oath? It is not right. So for example, the brothers, by Allah, you're going to sit there, please. Fill up the gap. Right. So every time that you say about Allah, it's not right. Unless there's a need. And here the Prophet of Allah, yes, he is truthful and the companions will believe him, but this is for emphasis. So remember, those oaths are for emphasizing. Nobody had asked the Prophet of Allah to make an oath. And also, the Prophet of Allah, in most of his oaths, he would say, by the one in whose hand is mine soul. He doesn't say by Allah. Wallahi, very rarely. He would say, فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, by the one in whose hand, and that is to emphasize. And I'm asking again and again and again, those people who make the hand is to be symbol of power, not the hand that we know. We say, is it that the Prophet of Allah, he wants to mislead us? And all the time makes a specific oath with the hands of Allah? If the hands, according to what you think is the correct opinion, is the means of power of the hands, would the Prophet of Allah mislead us and say, by the one in whose hand is my soul? Would he? Would you accuse the Prophet of Allah of misleading us? You understand me? If the hands were not meant the hands, would the Prophet of Allah keep making an oath by the hand, one in whose hand is my soul? No. Because he wants to tell us, Allah's got hands, and two of them, and they are suitable to His Majesty. We don't look like hand, but the hand is different. We don't know how the hand looked like because we don't know how he looked like. That's how all it is. So the table's got a leg. Have you ever seen somebody say, oh, your table's got a leg, maybe it's got toes as well, and hair coming out, and blood? The leg of the table is a leg of a table. But because you know how the table looked like, you can really imagine what the leg looked like, isn't it? But when I say the leg of the table, does it jump to your mind? It is, you have an imitation, brother. You made imitation between the human being and the leg of the table. Is that what happens to your mind? So why does it happen that when we talk about the hands of Allah and the hands of the creation, do you understand that? Why does that jump? Why does it jump to your mind? Simple. So those who are arguing regarding this issue, why the Prophet of Allah keeps making an oath like this? And by the way, this is a very big benefit. You are learning something to I wouldn't say to debate with them, but to convince them. The Prophet of Allah is a messenger of Allah, he's the most eloquent speaker. And if you want to talk about the power, I could have chosen a word of the power. He's choosing the hands of Allah. The hands that He had made with them, our Prophet Adam, our father. He made them with His own two hands. To emphasize that I see you. And the emphasis is to say to you that it is an actual video link up. I could see you, what you're doing behind me. And this is only for the Prophet of Allah. It's a mu'jizah. It's a miracle. It's something from the Prophet of Allah. Do you understand that? It's for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But is it every time, or it's only in the salah? Do you understand me? Is it every time? No, it's not every time. It's only what? In the salah. But is it everything in the salah, for example, that the Prophet ﷺ would know? That depends. For verily, we know that the Prophet of Allah, he had prayed the Salat al-Khawf. Yes or no? The fear prayer. And if he could see the enemies behind, he doesn't have to make all of this line up of the army. So it must be that he sees the movement of the prayer. The emotions of what? Of the prayer. Do you understand that? He does not see that, for example, other things than that. So the emotion of the prayer, the person does something wrong, the person, okay? Right. Now we come to the point. He says, I could see you behind my back whenever you make ruku' and whenever you make sujood. And he had seen. Now,
He sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a man praying, not completing his ruku properly.
Yes.
He sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a man praying, not completing his ruku properly and pecking in his sujood. So he said, were this man to die in this state, he would die on a faith other than that of Muhammad.
Allahu Akbar.
Pecking in his prayer as a crow pecks at blood, and who does not make ruku completely and pecks in his sujood is like the hungry person who eats 1 or 2 dates which are of no use to him at all.
Right. In this hadith, we have learned a lot. That the Prophet ﷺ, he does not judge the person until the hujjah is established upon him. That's number one. We have to make the hujjah, establish the hujjah on the person. And the most biggest hujjah is the Prophet of Allah is talking to you. That's the hujjah. Because you cannot be a hujjah. Maybe you are a person who's not qualified. But if the Prophet of Allah is telling you that if you keep doing this, you're going to be outside the fold of Islam, that's the hujjah in itself. So he did not pass upon him the kufr until he said, if he stays like this, after what I mentioned, after what I admonished, after what I advised, after what I commanded, if he does like this, then he would be dying upon other than the faith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, is he a kafir or is he not a kafir? Because ala millati ghayri Muhammad. The last been mentioned a number of times. We leave it like this and he's a terrorist. But we need to understand that there are people who died without even praying, and yet they are what? Muslims. One of them is Usayr ibn Abd al-Ashhad, the one who came to the battle, in the battle of Uhud. He is the one who was really a big enemy to the Muslims, big enemy to the Prophet of Allah. All the Aus embraced Islam except for him. And when the battle of Uhud took place, he was found there killed. And he was in the last, you could say, string of life left in him. They asked him, why did you come here? What was wrong? Why are you here? He said, I believed in the Islam. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And he died. So he just made the shahada at that moment when he's about to die. So he fought on the side of the Muslims. They didn't know that. They went to the Prophet of Allah and told him. He said, he's in Jannah. Muslim. So they said, even he never prayed what? Single prayer to Allah. He's in Jannah. Even not a single prayer. So this person who's a Muslim, yet he is not praying with tranquility, just like most of our old people, isn't it? Fathers and mothers. Oh, look at them. Look at the great grandfather. I used to pray. I'm not saying everybody, but most likely, before knowledge, I used to pray very fast. I remember my finishes, mashallah, 11 rak'ah witr in about 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's it. 11 rak'ah witr. She finishes in 5, 3, 4 minutes. Have you seen the 22 rak'ah, 21 rak'ah of Indonesia? In 7 minutes. She's, no, more than Ferrari. Ferrari is the Imam which is in Turkey. This is supersonic. This is a space shuttle. 7 minutes, 21 rak'ah. You've seen it, haven't you? I have shown it here, I'm sure. None of you, because he's my main man, he doesn't see it, that means we didn't do it here. It is on TV, this is the official TV. And I've got a friend there, Dr. Malik. He had said, I know the people, because he knows the masjid where it is. That is those people that pray. And they've got beards, long ones. But mashallah, you need to be fit to be there. If you are an old man and you can't cope, by the time you finishes one rak'ah, you're still in your Fatiha. He finishes one rak'ah and mashallah, tabarak. Of course, la hawla wa la quwwata billah. That's not the prayer. It's not accepted whatsoever. That's not accepted. So can we say that those people, they die kuffar? I'm asking. Can they? No. It has to be established the hujjah upon them. Especially the ones who was a leader, the imam. We're going to tell them, look, I'm sure that the man who prayed in front of the Prophet of Allah was not as fast as you. No way. Because he would have commanded for him to be beaten up. He's not praying, he's playing. He will beat it up. What is he, taking the mick? 7 minutes, 21 rak'ah, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Allahul Musta'an. That is really amazing. So, he was pecking like the crow, he says. So he said, verily, if this person dies like this, after I'm telling him, he dies upon other than the millet of Muhammad. But if he does not, and most of the people who does like this at that time, they are what? The real hypocrites. The real what? Hypocrites. That means got kufr inside, pretends to be a musalli, a Muslim outside. Most of them. For very the companions, just like that man who has been said, Messenger of Assalamu alaikum, they go back if you have been prayed. So he prayed as he had prayed before. That means he's ignorant. He didn't know. Nobody told him. Then the Prophet of Allah told him, so he adhered to that. So imagine that man before seeing the Prophet of Allah die. Where's he going to go? Paradise. He's a companion. If the Prophet of Allah did not see him before he had, fixed his prayer, he's in Jannah because he's a companion. He didn't know. Right. So coming back now, he says, verily the one who does not finish his ruku' properly or his sujood, he is like the hungry man. The hungry man, 1 or 2 days are not going to be sufficient for him. So it's 1, 2 days, it's not really. Same thing with this person. He's like a hungry man. So he's not taking his satisfaction from the prayer. Then he said, Abu Hurairah.
Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu.
Do you have any footnotes? No footnotes.
Just about the hadith.
Yeah.
Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, my close friend sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade me from pecking in my prayer like a cockerel, from looking around like a fox, and from squatting like a monkey.
Right, these are the animals the Prophet had mentioned here that you should not supposed to be emulating them. The pecking of the what?
Cockerel, the chicken.
The cock, which is the rooster, the deek, even is a good animal. And to look like this fox. Fox is the one who is sly. He cheats until he gets the chicken. He cheats, sly as a fox. He's not good anymore. And then he says, this hadith was mentioned in a different way, which is the dog. Mentioned the dog, and the dog and the monkey, the same squatting. And we have demonstrated that before, yes? Alfred, show them the squatting of the monkey. You're not a monkey, but you're going to show them squatting. You know that? Who showed it us that last time? Shakir? Huh? Who? Showed us. The monkey is exactly the same as the dog. So that's the squatting. Can I just see the camera? The camera doesn't see it here? Yeah. Can you just make it in the back? Yeah. There's a camera here. Yeah. Put it down and see the squatting of the no sideways. Yes, if the people can see you. So let me just. So that's the squatting of the dog. That's one. It's called. And you see the monkey sitting like this, buddy? Yeah. Yes. Subhanallah. And the second one is the harder one. No. In between. That's right. That's the squatting. Oh. Now your buttocks are supposed to be on the floor. But it doesn't matter. As long as your feet are wide and your back is in between them. Yeah. So widen your feet a bit. The more you widen, the better it is. Yes, the dog. Yes. So this is the dog of the monkey. So both of them are not allowed to be done in the prayer. And then he says, Jazakallah khair ya Irfan.
The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say, the worst thief among men is the one who steals from his prayer. They said, O Messenger of Allah, how does he steal from his prayer? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he does not complete its ruku and sujood.
The worst of thieves because there is no punishment on him. That is physical punishment. Because when he steals from somebody's houses or whatever, then they will have his hand amputated. But there's nobody going to amputate his hand because he was pecking like a crow in the prayer and he's stealing. So that is why it's the worst of stealing. It's very easy to do. Nobody's going to tell you off. Nobody's going to say that they've been stealing. It's the worst. And this stealing is always made by the shaitan. Whereas the other one is sometimes your whims and desire. You found something nice and your whims and you like it because the money is a lot of money. But this one, shaitan is only doing it. That's why it's the worst of stealing. And then he says that the one who does not make his ruku' properly or sujood properly, he is actually stealing in his prayer. Now,
once he ﷺ was praying when he glanced out of the corner of his eye at a man not settling his backbone in ruku' and sujood. When he finished, he ﷺ said, O assembly of Muslims, verily the prayer is not valid of one of who does not settle his spine in ruku' and sujood.
That's mentioned a pillar. Ruku' and sujood are to be pillars because your prayer will be invalid. And then that is also he said,
he ﷺ said in another hadith, the prayer of a man does not count unless he straightens his back in ruku' and sujood.
So that's why it's important that we leave that here, inshallah, and then the adhkar of the ruku' will be discussed, inshallah, next week. But I would like you please to read them through so we could really be familiar with them and we could go quickly to then the following title. The ruku' is just about 3 titles, and after that we're going to be doing the sujood. Okay? So let's just hope, inshallah, we're going to finish the ruku' next week. Have any questions regarding what we have heard? Uncle, you can come, inshallah. Now. Is Uncle there? Takbir while you are in the ruku' or going to the ruku'? When you go into the ruku', you could make the takbir just before you start or just after you have started. It's a very good question, but not when you have reached the ruku'. So, you start Allahu Akbar, or like we said, like this, and Allahu Akbar, or Allahu Akbar, then this, the 3 ways, and then you start making the ruku'. But you could just say while you're going down, which is it is acceptable, but it's not the right thing, which is not the better thing, which is you say Allahu Akbar while you're going down. That's acceptable, but the first is what? To start, and then, because he said, made the takbir, then they made the ruku'. But do not go to the ruku' fully and say what? Allahu Akbar. That's wrong. Okay? So, you can make the takbirat al-ruku' the correct way, just like you make it takbirat al-ihram. Fully standing up. Allahu Akbar. Then you go down. By the way, I said in the takbirat al-ihram, and remember, that takbirat al-ihram has to be said with all the letters standing up, especially for those people who are joining the prayer when the imam is in his ruku'. Because you want to catch up with the ruku', they say Allahu Akbar, and they go down. That will invalidate their prayer, will not be accepted as a sunnah, voluntary, will not accepted as obligatory. It will be gone, finished, with the consensus of all scholars. They say Allahu Akbar, but your ruku', it doesn't matter if some of the letters had fallen while you are what? Into the ruku' process, no problem. But the correct opinion, the correct way of doing it is to make Allahu Akbar and then make ruku'. So Allahu Akbar and then ruku'. Or like this and then Allahu Akbar. The 3 ways which I have explained before. Good question, jazakallah. But don't go to the ruku' fully and you start making Allahu Akbar. Now.
What does it mean by every limb takes its proper place?
Every limb?
Yeah, when you said
every limb.
Every limb should.
Yeah, I said every limb. What does it mean when every limb takes its place? كل عظم يأخذ موضعه. That means you are settling. If you're not settling, the limb will not take it. For example, if you do like this, jerking, the limb will not take place. That means there is tranquility in the process. Do you understand me? So when you do like this, it's every limb taking its position. So you're taking your time. So every limb takes its position. So that's what it means. But it doesn't mean it has to be straight. It doesn't mean that. It means that you are taking it with slowly, not fast. That's what it means. So when Abu Hamid al-Sa'id radiallahu anhu explained the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said, I am the most closest to the Prophet of Allah in his prayer. For Hurairah used to look at him and he said, he made a takbirat al-ihram, and then he made the right on the left, and then he recited the Fatiha, and then on the surah. And when he put like the right on the left, he said, حَتَّى أَخَذَ مَوْضِعَ كُلُّ عَظْمٍ مَوْضِعَ, until every bone has taken its limb, its position. So he did like this. Now, when he went to the ruku', then he said, Sami Allahu liman hamida. He did not mention again until every limb took its what? Position. From that narration, our Shaykh Mashhuri says, there is no right on the left after the ruku'. Did you understand that? From that narration. He said there is no, because you know that the hadiths regarding the description of the Prophet of Allah is so many, tens of companions. Yet none of them had said the Prophet of Allah like this bluntly, had put the right and the left after the ruku'. None of them. Did you understand that? That is why we hold it. It is not to put the right and the left after the ruku', as we're going to discuss inshallah more on further when we come to it. Further.
Some people when they make the ruku, they can't do it because of disability. So is that okay?
Because of disability.
Not flexible enough to do the proper.
Any person who is not flexible to do the ruku', he is required to do what he is capable of. So, if this person can bend his back a bit, then he does bend his back, he does not bend his eyes, for example. So he has to do whatever from the ruku'. So he does not do with his eyes, ruku', no, because he could bend his back. And if he cannot bend his back whatsoever, bend his head. Okay? So his head bends. Then if he can't bend his head, finally he bends with what? With his eyes go down. Because this is the last thing. So you are moveless, basically. So your eyes, ruku' and sujood. But there is no such thing with a finger. Remember that. Ruku', sujood, there is no such thing. Raise up your finger, ruku', sujood. Because there is in the fiqh, salat al-usma', the prayer of the finger. That's not right. So if you can do it, you do it with physical. So you ruku' as much as you can without harming yourself. If you can't do it, then with your head. Can't, then with your eyes. Now, follow.
About the three ways you alternate between raising your hands. I know previously that you have to wait for the Imam to finish saying Allah Akbar. You shouldn't just jump when you say Allah. And then, so would you wait for and then apply all of these, or could you raise your hands?
You're talking about now praying in the Jama'ah. So this person is praying behind the Imam. What should he do when he is behind the Imam? When you are behind the Imam, you are linked to the words. You're not linked to anything else. So if the Imam said Allahu Akbar, you are about now to start your ways of doing it, before or after or with. So when you hear the word Ra, Allahu Akbar, you do it. So you have to make sure that you are not matching or what? Raising. Now whatever he takes as he wants, like he wants to raise up his hands before, or he wants to say the words before, he wants to say them together, you are linked to the what? The words. Because you could be behind, you could be not seeing the Imam. So that's in the prayer of the Jama'ah. If you're on your own, then you are the Imam of yourself. Or if you are the Imam yourself, then you do it the way that we have explained. So remember, after Allahu Akbar, don't do anything before the Imam finishes Allahu Akbar. I was going to say something, but I forgot regarding the person who is joining up a prayer. Yes. In the takbirah, if some Imam is in his ruku' and you came in, and we said that you need to make sure that the takbirah al-ihram said fully standing up. The second takbirah, if you did not make it for the ruku', okay, let's say you haven't done it in the ruku', is this a pillar or not a pillar? Because we said here the ruku' is what? Pillar. But saying Allahu Akbar, is this a pillar or not? It's an obligation. It's not a pillar. What is the pillar? The ruku'. But saying Allahu Akbar is not the pillar. So if you forgot to say Allahu Akbar for the ruku', then no problem about that. But if you forgot your ruku', you have to repeat that rak'ah. Do you understand that? And repeat every rak'ah after that rak'ah. Because your rak'ah will invalidate that rak'ah and will invalidate any rak'ah afterwards. The ones before, no. But the ones afterwards. So if you made a mistake in the first rak'ah, then all your prayer has to be repeated. Because the first is invalid. Your second is supposed to be second. It's not second anymore. It will have become what? First. But you have intended it to be what? Second. You want to make the tashahhud afterwards. So that's why everything will be invalid after that. Now. Father.
So in this mistake, if I remembered during the tashahhud that I didn't do ruku' in the first rak'ah, if I finish the tashahhud, I just stand up and start from the beginning without takbiratul ihram. I just start as first rak'ah. Do I need to finish the tashahhud, then stand up and start counting first rak'ah?
Again, the question, please.
So I remembered in my tashahhud that I didn't do the ruku' of the first rak'ah.
Okay, you made a mistake of leaving a pillar
In the first rak'ah.
in the first rak'ah.
So Okay. Should I complete the tashahhud stand up, or I just stand up and continue from the first rak'ah?
If you have made this mistake, which is leaving a prayer in the first or the second or the third, and then you remembered, then what you need to do now, you are still in the prayer. Don't leave the prayer and start Allahu Akbar. Okay? So you're going to be now at the moment standing up straight away, because that tashahhud of yours is not valid. But you cannot invalidate your prayer totally. You are still in the prayer. So you stand up, takbirat al-ihram of the beginning, and you do the prayer. If you finish your tashahhud and you make salutation, then you start from the beginning as we know. Now, has this happened with you? No. Okay, clear, inshallah. Scenario which planned to be happened. Yes, uncle. I want to ask you, uncle. Are you okay with the heat?
I am okay with the heat.
At the moment here in this room, uncle. Alhamdulillah. Because we had some cold air coming in before and we closed it. Inshallah, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair, uncle. Fine. Do you have any questions? No question for tonight. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.